Well, howdy guys and gals, welcome back to The Social Regressive. It's been a week since the events of January the 6th, and that is 7 days for the progressives to press their attack. It is also 1 day for each stage of grief for the rest of us, and now it's time to lay that grief aside as much as possible and to regroup and get back to work. I have some good news and I have some bad news, and in usual form, we're going to start with the bad news. I just want to lay things out straight and let you know what we're up against. On the 6th, the progressives did gain the initiative. Not in our minds, of course, and of course they don't have the moral high ground, but they did gain the initiative in the minds of Johnny Q. Public, the sort of person that just absorbs media from the atmosphere, from the major news networks and whatever Facebook and Twitter were allowing to get through. No matter what you think of what's happening in the video and what the source is, the fact is that it is out there in the public now and it is affecting Johnny Q. Public, and it's going to be used to tar anybody that is not a radical progressive, including just normal folks like you and me that just want to live free. Progressives are going to use this momentum to ram home anything and everything that they've ever wanted. Things like gun control, law enforcement restructuring, medical mandates, education reform, or as I call it, indoctrination. You can check out the video that I did on that a while back. I don't think you're going to want to miss that because it's very timely. I'm glad that I put that out just a little bit ago. Meanwhile, the rest of us are going to be branded as terrorists, and you're going to see this if you try to do any protests at your local state capitol. If you try to go to Washington, things are going to be very different now. The atmosphere is going to be very different, and this is going to extend very much into big tech. Big tech has been trying to suppress all ideas that are not, the current progressive message. And they've been trying to find ways to eliminate the rest of us for a very long time, to stop our message. And they've been, kind of pretending to have the high ground for a while here. But now I think they're really going to feel like they can go on the attack. They can start removing content. They can restrict messages, and they can restrict entire messengers. For example, I know that my own channel is probably on the chopping block here sometime soon. I will do my best to get as much content out there as possible and to find new media out there, places where I can put some of these videos for you guys. Hopefully we can find some that are much more open and I can upload everything relatively easily. I'll let you know when I get things moved around a bit. Now for the good news. The progressives may have the initiative, but they do not have the moral high ground. They never have, they never will, they actually can't, unless we actually dig ourselves deeper than them, and I don't think many of us are keen to do that. Social progress is a well, it's a hole that you just keep digging deeper and deeper down into hell. The ideas are completely wrong. Everything that sounds great actually stands for something else, and we've all known it for a while. Wealth redistribution is just theft. Social justice is just a raw, naked power grab that doesn't seem to have any kind of cogent rules attached to it. It doesn't seem to have any justice attached to it at all. Healthcare reform is just another way to steal from some people, give to others. And it's a way to control the healthcare of everybody. And then education reform, like I mentioned, it's just indoctrination. It's progressive indoctrination. As you might expect from someone whose ideas are wrong, their actions are going to be wrong as well, and they're going to be pretty much invariably wrong. You can look at any of the bills that have either gone through pushed by progressives or the ones that have been proposed in the past. They either had a very destructive primary effect or a very destructive secondary effect. And you can see this in their personal lives as well. There's really nothing that I want to emulate about a progressive. We're talking about hate, envy, greed, racism, all of these things as the kind of primary tenets running through the whole thing. I'm not interested. And that's what leads us to another good thing that we have going for us right now. We still occupy the moral high ground. Those of us that just want to work, that want to travel, that want to speak, that want to make our families, and we want to do it without some apparatchik telling us how it's supposed to work. That is the moral high ground. We want our governments, but we want them to fit within the narrow confines of the U.S. Constitution. That's going to protect the rights of everybody in the nation without regard to what political ideology they have, etc. And we do have one other really good thing going for us. We still have immense physical power. And this is one of the things that the progressives would like to fix first. And they are going to jump on this really fast. It looks like the ATF We're probably going to be seeing lots of stuff through them soon. We're going to see all kinds of bills in Congress. We've seen one already, I think, that was a magazine ban. Keep your eyes on that and be ready to quash this stuff when it comes across, because we must retain this physical power. So now we get down to our job, what it is that we have to do. Like I mentioned in a certain video that I had to take down because the deadpan part of the joke went on a little bit too long, we need to look internally first. We need to make sure that we are living virtuously and that we are creating virtuous families and communities. That's where all of this really starts. It starts internally, and then you build up, and then things kind of blossom from there. So we need to make sure that we are kind of keeping house first. But then we also have to be ready to very loudly tell Washington and our local governments, whoever it is, we need to very loudly tell them no. And it's going to be more difficult because, like I said, they are going to start treating freedom-loving people like terrorists because they have footage that seems to indicate to them that we are very, very dangerous folks. I suppose in a way we are. When new garbage legislation or some other initiative pops up in your area, there are 4 things that I recommend that we do, and maybe you have some other suggestions for things. But first off, we need to research what this thing is. We need to know the history of what they're talking about. We need to understand all the terms that they're getting into and what the implications are. Then we need to write to whoever is left to us as allies in our various governments. Go ahead, send your representatives, your senators letter. I know that our faith in such institutions is very low right now, but remember that you do also have your local governments. Maybe your state, like mine, Oklahoma, is one that can go to bat for you. They can be a bit more of a forceful presence, and they can use things like the 10th Amendment to push things back. That's something that we have going for us. The third thing that we need to do is distribute our message as much as possible on as many media as we can. And for this, we're going to rely on individual people. We are not going to be saved by any of our large institutions. The mainstream media is not going to provide another side to the story ever again. I don't think so. Maybe on your local network there might be a little something, but it's the culture has changed so much that I wouldn't count on it. What you need to do is find some of these new alternative means of communication, and that's going to get more difficult as more people crack down, as we start losing channels, as we start losing messengers. It's going to be up to individual people to get the message across. And if it comes down to just telling somebody face to face about things, then hey, we have to do what we can. And then we get to the fourth thing, which is protest. This is something that is still allowed us by the First Amendment. And yes, there will be folks that'll be cracking down on this and trying to treat everybody like a terrorist. But despite that, be polite, be civil. Don't freak out. Please don't cause any more huge incidents like we saw. I know that there's a lot of righteous anger. There's a lot of folks that are going to be properly enraged about some of the things, but we do need to control ourselves. And as much as possible, we need to not give, even if our message is not allowed out there, the one time that we will be shown on mainstream news is if we freak out. Remember that we have 3 goals in a protest. One is to make a show for the representatives to show that, yes, we are invested enough that we are actually outside standing in the cold or whatever. That's how much we believe in this thing. It's a show to the general public, and it's also something that is going to be grabbed by the media. So even if the media doesn't show us in a positive light, remember that they will show us in a negative light if they possibly can. Don't depend on established media either at the national level or the local level to either promote your message, let you have your say, or even to indicate that you exist. The progressives would much prefer that you didn't exist at all, and they're going to pretend that there is no liberty-loving person out there. There are just these fringe elements fighting for power, so they're going to gloss over you. So what you need to do is, thankfully, we have a lot of tech now. We have a lot of options available to us. You're going to have to be your own news network. You're going to have to cover what happens if you are at a rally or a protest. Collect as much video, as many photos, as many interviews as you possibly can for yourself, and distribute those in ways that you can find to get out there. Use Facebook if you can. Use whatever exists. I don't know what it's going to be in the future. We're all going to have to keep our eyes and ears open. We'll find it. But it's going to be up to us to at least have an archive of what actually happened at some of these events. I wish I had better news, but the bitter pill is that we have a lot of work to do. Oh no, wait, there is better news. There are a lot of us that feel the exact same way. We believe in liberty, we believe in virtue, we believe in the continuation of the American experiment, and we can find each other. So use social media, use whatever you can, get face to face with as many folks as you can, and let's band together and see what we can do to repel some of these attacks that are coming. We are the Social Regressives. Thanks a lot to folks for making these videos possible, especially patrons of the destructive arts. I know that they originally signed on for the long-range shooting stuff, optics talk, and we're going to have a lot of that coming up. Don't miss out on anything. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to get some of these bigger messages out there as well. Thank you to Sportsman's Guide, Stan and Mary, and Tyler at the 338 Lapua Magnum level out on Patreon. And thank you to Joseph Davis, Peter, Mr. No Name, and Howard at the 300 Win Mag level. And then we have just a gob of other folks that are pitching in $1 or $2 a month, $5 a month, to help keep videos like these coming, keep the cameras rolling, increase the quality, increase the gear that we can use around here to get the message out. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you all around. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Even if you didn't like this particular content, go ahead and subscribe. There's probably something coming that's more up your alley. Check out this playlist right here. This is going to have videos in a similar vein to what you just watched. These 2 videos we cherry-picked for you. And finally, The Social Regressive is on Patreon. So, you can become a patron of the destructive arts and earn some goodies while helping us to provide high-quality videos just by kicking us a few bucks a month. Thanks a bunch for your patronage.